Jesus said, "If I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It is who glorifies me." Jesus said, "If I glorify myself, my glory is nothing. It is my Father who glorifies me." Jesus said, "We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night comes when Jesus said, "We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night comes when no one can work." Where did Jesus tell the blind man to go and wash? A, the pool of Bethesda, B, the Jordan River, C, the pool of Siloam, or D, the Sea of Galilee? The answer is C, the pool of Siloam. The Bible is the best gift God has ever given to man. All the good from the Savior of the world is communicated through this book. Abraham Lincoln.
And so they argue about whether or not Jesus could be a good man, and the division is across these lines of their presuppositions. But they asked the man, "What do you think about him?" What he said, "My experience is brief, but as far as I'm concerned, anybody that can help me see when I was blind, he's a prophet." There's no question. Verse 18 down through 22, 23.
The Jews did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the parents of the man who had received his sight and asked them, "Is this your son, who you say was born blind? But then how does he see now?" His parents answered, "We know that this is our son, that he was born blind, but how he now sees, we do not know, nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age, and he will speak for himself." His parents said this because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that if anyone should confess him to be Christ, he was to be put out of the synagogue.
It's for this reason that his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." This is interesting. Not only are there those who are not able to believe because they have the wrong theories that blind them, but here are people who know the truth and fear blinds them, or at least keeps them from telling the truth. Now, here's one group that can't see the truth because of their theories. They're blind. The man who was blind has met Jesus, and now he sees. And the fear blinds the parents to the truth. Instead of glorifying Christ who healed their son, they were more afraid of their church membership. And so they said, we don't know. Ask him. So now we bring the poor man in now for his interrogation number 2, verse 24 down through verse 27.
So for the second time they called the man who had been blind and said to him, Give God the praise. We know that this man is a sinner. He answered, Whether he is a sinner I do not know. One thing I know, that though I was blind, now I see. They said to him, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I have told you already, and you would not listen. Why, do you want to hear it again? Do you too want to become his disciples?
Now this is a development. This man has not before testified to being a disciple. Up to this time, he merely said, I was blind, now I see. But now, in the heat of the argument, he classifies himself as a follower of Jesus. He said, you want to be like me and be one of his disciples? And the tables are turned. The ones who are interrogating become the interrogated. The ones who are questioning become the questioned. Do you want to be disciples? Do you want me to tell all over again so you'll understand better and can be better believers? And he goes on to say, they reviled him. You're his disciple. We're disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses. As for this man, we don't know where he comes from. And the man said, well, this is marvelous. This is a surprise. He said, you don't know where he comes from. And yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. Now this is a very interesting statement. It is the language of the man on the street. It isn't true. Even though the man was healed, he did not have his theology straight. If God didn't hear the prayers of sinners, there's no chance for any of us. All prayers are prayers of sinners, just some are saved and some aren't. But God does hear the prayers of sinners. That's why it's valuable for you and for me to come to him, because if we come unto him, he will not cast us out. And but he said if a man's a worshiper of God and does his will, God listens to him. And finish the passage there from 32 through 34.
Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. They answered him, You were born in utter sin, and would you teach us? And they cast him out.
Now, of course, this man is further deficient in his theology. There have been people healed of blindness before this time. But he just wasn't a theologian. He didn't know about it. He had been blind. He couldn't read. He didn't know the Old Testament. He didn't know what God had done. But as far as he knew, he was telling the truth. He said if a man were not from God, he can do nothing. And then they come back to our original theological question. Who is responsible for the blindness? The disciples asked this question, the one that agonizes so many people today, the one that Jesus did not answer except to treat it as an opportunity. And now the Pharisees come back and they say, you were born in utter sin. That is, your very blindness was a curse of God upon you and is a proof that you were born in sin. And are you going to try to be a sinner and teach us? And by saying they cast him out, that means they put him out of the synagogue. That is, today, excommunicated him out of the church. The reaction of Jesus is very interesting. We'll read that now in verse 35 down through verse 38.
Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and having found him, he said, Do you believe in the Son of Man? He answered, And who is he, sir, that I may believe in him? Jesus said to him, You have seen him, and it is he who speaks to you. He said, Lord,